Good morning. It is 10:35 a.m. It is Sunday morning, and that means it is time for Sunday Club, which is a weekly Ruby on Rails live stream where we work on a Rails application together. And we look at different aspects and different bits and bobs across Rails and all of the things that are sort of some of the nuts and bolts and things that are involved in designing and building an application. And the application that we work on is an event registration and ticketing application where people can organize events. They can kind of put in all the details of those events, and then people will be able to kind of register to take part. And hopefully, eventually, they'll be able to register to take part in groups, which is sort of the specific angle that we want to look at on the application. It's 10:36, like I said. We are going to do the stream, but I've just had a phone call from my sister who needs a lift somewhere. So if this gets cut off at short notice, just be aware. We've got families. We know what happens. You get called up to give people a ride places. That's what happens in the world, and they do not care that you're doing a live stream. And why should they? They need to get from A to B. All right, follow up. Let's do some follow up. This is huge news, huge, unbelievable news. For months, we have had a massive stream of commits going onto this. I've been calling it like a work in progress branch, but it's like, let's face it, it's whatever branch I happened to be on while we were doing work on the live stream. And I have finally gone through. This took ages. I had some time in a coffee shop and I was like, oh, I'm going to sit and sort of tackle that. I then carried on later that day at home. It was yesterday, and kind of roughly grouped the commits by sort of what we were doing. But to be honest, it was so long ago. I've written some notes on some of these where I'm just like, yeah, they're loosely grouped. I've just written a note on the PR. There's no actual diligence around any of this stuff, which is fine. It's the stream. We're not worried about that. But it is nice to sort of have some of them at least on, kind of merged into master and sort of like, you know, at least some chronology. I did fix a couple of the things that I had mentioned. I didn't go back and do things like, we ended up going, I think we installed a bunch of stuff using Webpack and then almost immediately took Webpack back out. So I didn't go back and like rebase everything so that Webpack never existed in the Git history, which I could have done just because couldn't be bothered. It seemed like a lot of work for no gain. So I didn't do it. So that's follow-up. Great. That's amazing. So we have some commits. We have the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Do I count this one? Some commits. Oh, there was a fix-up. I must have moved the fix-up commit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. Let's say 9 commits that need... Oh, maybe this is it. Right, 9 commits from the last couple of streams where we've built this, like, been doing the UI around the onboarding flow. So that's our follow-up. We have basic Git hygiene is our follow-up. Well done. All right. So everything's still looking a bit janky, but at least everything is starting to look roughly sort of vaguely like an application. There's loads, and I mean, this looks insane, frankly, but you can sort of get the gist of what it's trying to do, maybe. Last couple of streams, we looked at refactoring our navbar up here. So I think if we have this, does this persist? Can we go to... No, we can't. Okay, so it's like test 3example.com, I think, is our user. Yes, great. So we've got this version of this navbar here, this site navbar. Just zoom in a little bit. And so it knows that you're not signed in. We then previously had a different one for your admin. And now I think they are all the same one. And there is an organization drop down for all of the multiple organizations that you can be organizing events for. It's broken. The UI is broken. Don't worry about it. We'll fix it. We did a big refactor. And then you've got a button here where you go to your own personal account area. So you can update your email address. You can change your password. But they're all in one header, in one navbar at the moment. And so the navbar just needs to know what to show. So... let's get started. I'm just going to move my phone so I can see it in case my sister does message me, because then I'll get in trouble if I've said I'd give them a lift somewhere and then refuse to answer my phone. Okay, so we want to get rid of, I think let's do a little bit of hygiene to start with. So I think we can get rid of this component here. And I don't think we did it last week because I didn't want to break anything just before wandering off. But I think admin navbar component can go. So we can sort of check whether that's in use anywhere. No, it's only being called in this way. It's only being called where we can see it, which is fine. Let's forward. Great. So I think we can just remove this. So let's. Has this got any tests? Let's go to spec components admin. No, that's the one above. So these can go. Great, and I think we just want to commit that. When I was doing that rebasing from yesterday from the previous streams, there was like a marked point at which I realized I was going to have to come back and do that, and the commit messages that I'd done on the stream started getting better. Where I had put like WIP that they were work in progress, but the only rewording I did was just to remove the work in progress because I knew I was building up a backlog of stuff I was going to have to sort out in just at some point, and I was like trying to head it off. So let's commit these changes. We want to we want to add those changes and then commit them. So remove admin, what was it called? Navbar component. Why are we removing it in recent commits? We refactored the main, we called it like site nav component to contain all the same logic and UI that was previously shared with two components. As this is complete, this navbar can be no, it's as yeah, that'll do. I get the gist. I'm gonna say like they're no longer being like actually implemented on the site, but that kind of does what it says in the tin. All right, anything actually gonna happen here? What's going on? What's Git doing? Okay, it's just taking its time. Fine. So that they've gone. Great, and everything still functions. It does not function because I need to remove the import because all of the CSS components are linked specifically. Admin navbar component, navbar component. So this line needs to go, and that needs to go into the previous commit as well. Yeah. So we can just do a little amend. I'm just going to do this one in the UI. It's fine. The branch that run is called Rails 7. Like, it's just like the most generic name for it. All right, cool. So now we can refresh. We can go to new event. That stuff all works. This all works. Okay. So, although ugly, this thing was sort of an onboarding flow that we could use. So let's just do a quick refresher on what we're talking about here. So on the home page, we're not signed in because if we're signed in, our new navbar, our combined combo navbar would know, and we wouldn't see a sign up link. But sign up will go to here where you can sign up a generic user account. And then we wired what we called our organization setup or organization onboarding to this get started button. And the fact that it says get started is irrelevant. It's arbitrary. It's just a link. But you can look at previous videos on the stream. We basically tied the notion of having an event to needing an organization. The idea being that there is a range of complexity that we could decide on. From, hey, anyone can create an event, you don't need to do anything, just totally ad hoc, need as little information as possible, all the way through to kind of more extreme, like active.com examples where like it's actually fairly a lot of work to sign up. You have to give a lot of information and things like that. And because of the type of events, these big group events that we this application is sort of we're trying to skate towards, I opted to, and this was months and months ago in the design. There was like a whiteboard thing on the stream. We opted to actually say, well, you need an organization. That's something we're going to mandate. And then that can be something when you go into your admin area, which although it looks like a dog's dinner, what you can see here is that you have an organization name in your slug. And so everything stems from that organization. And that's actually the root of everything you then do. That organization has multiple events, it has multiple people, it has multiple things. You can then go from there rather than starting from a user that creates an event and then having to, maybe your first event is really successful and you want to do 2 or 3, but you want them to share branding and you want to bring other people in. Like rather than the event being the thing, the core thing, for us, the organization is kind of the idea, I guess, the concept that groups all those together, because you don't have to code them all together that way. But certainly in the UI and the the domain design, we opted for the organization to be key. So what this onboarding flow is it's to create a new organization, not to create a new event. But as we discussed, we could swap the order of that around. You could create like a dummy event first and then attach it to that organization. So that's all preface stuff that we've covered in other streams. Go back through the YouTube archive if you're interested in these. So one of the issues we have here is that when we click test there, we get our test organization. This one actually has a suffix because I'm guessing we already have a test organization. We can collect fields for the organization here. That's just a form that posts some information. Right, so here what happens is we then collect, just typing in random stuff. I'm going to turn off those little drop down lists because they're really annoying. And here, this step in our wizard appears, and what this is, there's no UI on here, but what it's saying is like create your user. Basically, we won't associate anybody with that organization you've just made, and we need a user to do that. The problem is that this shows whether you are signed in or not. So at this point, what I think we set it to do was create the user, sign the user in, and associate the user with the organization. That's what the 3 things this controller action does when we post here. Yeah, so I now have one organization called test. I am signed in because I'm in the admin area, and I have an access to my user area, and my organization has been created. So that's great. I'm now signed in. However, if I go back and do the same thing for new test organization and click through here, I'm presented with this again. And if I put my details in here, I've already forgotten what my email address is. This. If I put my email address in here, I should get an error where they're like, hey, this user already exists. Yeah. Email, oh, I've got a bang save on there, which I don't want. I need to fix that now before I forget. That is just gonna fix this real quick. We're just gonna take the bang off of there, save that. Anyway, it's the correct error. The email has already been taken. Can I resend that? Yeah, email has already been taken. We haven't formatted any of our error messages, but that's the error we get. Now, I shouldn't get here if I have a user, but we do need certain behaviors to still happen. So this is something we sort of didn't factor into our design because, spoiler alert, on the stream, we didn't do any pre-planning or designing. We just got sort of crack into things wildly. And in the spirit of that, let's just crack into something wildly without doing too much planning or thinking. Let's see how we might work around that and see what some of the pros and cons are. So let's commit this this fix first. I don't think we can. I think we introduced this controller so long ago. I think that's now just a standalone. Remove. Bang save method from org setup users controller. Then for the Y, I think this was left over from a stream, and there's no feature. Oh no, that called. There's no system test to check this. Yeah, we'll try and come back to some system checks so that that wouldn't get left in, but we're not gonna worry about that right now because we're just doing it for the stream. All right, so in this flow, there are 3 steps. There is the step, well, I guess the first one is that. So the first step is you create the organization. And you create the organization, and we treat those as effectively like disposable. Like we just create the record in the database no matter what. We don't care whether you're signed in or whatever. There could be a bot creating millions of organizations. Like we don't really care. Because until you try and do anything with that organization and associate users with it, there's no like it's an inert record in the database, and we could just come through and like sweep out all of the orphaned records after n days, weeks, hours, whatever you cared about. So that's fine. So you just create that. That's step 1. Step 2, organization details. That's the step that we have at the moment, where there's just a button, but there will be a field where you collect information. There could be more than one step there. Each step has its own controller. So the first one uses the organizations controller. The next one uses the organization details controller. But the difference being between those two is that you jump from just a non-namespace controller into this namespace called organization setup. And that is to indicate that an organization is required, and we could easily add a base controller to this flow and kind of build some of those things out as we call it like setups is a word I've used before for like those wizard style UIs. So in the third step, it's the user's controller, and this is create the user. This is the steps we were just talking about. So create the user here, sign in the user, associate the user with the organization, and redirect to the organization, providing all those things have gone correctly. But the first issue we bump into is that you might already be signed in, and you might just be creating a new organization. I don't know whether we want to allow that a lot or not, because again, we haven't done any planning. But why not? Like for the sake of this, let's assume that, and let's assume, let's assume you can make as many organizations as you want, and they'll all and if you're signed in, they just automatically associate you with them. By creating the organization, you are automatically assigned to it. And we don't have a concept of roles or anything for organizations yet, which is, again, is why in a diligent world where if this was real, you'd have done loads of planning and worked all this stuff out, but we're just going to wing everything. So don't panic about any of that stuff. We'll panic about it later on a subsequent stream, many, many weeks from now. All right, let's do something simple to get started. Let's just skip this step. No, we can't skip it because we can't skip this step because we need this to happen. Yeah, okay, fine. So let's put some tests in and work out what we actually want to happen in this flow, and then make the tests work. And by tests, I think we actually have controller tests for these. Request spec, sorry. Okay, so yes, there's nothing on the users one. Okay, fine. That's well, and the organization detail one doesn't do anything. Okay, so it's this request spec. What I think we should do is take a look at the system specs for this. So creating an order. Let's do. Let's make a new spec. Creating an organization. So this is going to be. Yeah, I think our initial run at this is going to be something that will potentially come back to bite us in the bum, but we just want to get something up and running, so let's not worry about it too much. Creating an organization. And I can't remember any of these things, so yeah, let's do. It's a logged out user. Don't really care about that. Trying to just look at the existing specs to make sure we follow the same. Oops. To make sure we follow the same style. And what do we, like, what do we actually do here? When I visit a new order page, and I do this and I do this, then I all right, well, let's follow this sort of same pattern. When I visit the new organization page, and so this is going to be new organizations path. I can't remember whether that's plural or not. Years of this still new org. New organization path, yes, because it has new organization. Okay, fine. So visit new organization path. Okay, great. What's the creates a user creates an organization and membership for my user. This is going to be my end-to-end, right? This one's going to be for me. I don't think I never ever used me in those things. It creates an organization and membership. That'll do. So we're gonna visit an organization path and I fill in org name, because that's all got. Fill in org name. I usually put the submit in these as well, so fill in is maybe wrong. Fill in the org details. User details would be the next one. Then I can't remember any of the wording styles for any of this one. Then I what? Then I should see the org admin. Okay, great. So those are the last steps. So we go to our first step, fill in our first step, fill in our second step, fill in our third step, because we've got no user here. We haven't got a user in advance. Then I should see the org admin. Fine. Can we just do all 4 of these at the same time? Cool. Okay, so fill in the org name. Because we can get this one to pass now. So this is our existing state that actually works. We just need to know, go back here, what everything is called. So this is the page that we're visiting. Then we're going to fill in this field here. So this is just, I'm guessing, called like organization underscore name. Yes, great. Okay, cool. So in here, we can have, and can't remember my syntax here, but I'm guessing it's this example org name 1, and then we're going to do click button get started. Fine. Okay, so that's org name. Then we're going to do org details, so we can actually fill this in. Example org name 1. Click button get started. No idea. I think that's the syntax. So this one doesn't have any details on, so this one's just going to be click button. We're just we're aware that we've just waved over that. We don't, because we haven't done any planning, we actually had no idea what we want to associate with any of these models. Probably important stuff. Probably really, oh, it's a plus. Probably really important branding things, like you'd need the name, you'd want their website. We've discussed this on the previous stream because I remember saying stuff like that. And I fill in user details. Right, so this one is missing any good things, but this is just user email. Okay, so we can just take that down. Fill in user details. So user email with, it just seems to be one that doesn't exist. So like on onboarding at systemtest.com. It doesn't matter what it is. And then I fill in, the other one's going to be called user password with password, make it look like a password. And then we're going to click that button. And that button is called save and continue as well. And then I should see the org admin. And what should I see when I see the org admin? It takes you to the events page, so we're just going to say you should see the word. Could put a flash on it, just quickly. Oh, have I done flashes? Is there any type of flash? Okay, is there anything in the layout to actually show those flashes? Like, okay, well, I've coded some up, but do they ever actually show anywhere? Oh, hello in the chat. Hello. Welcome to Sunday. Hope you're having a lovely day. Trying to work out if I have done anything to do with showing flash messages on this application. And don't think I have. I don't think I've done anything about it at all. Is there anything in that? Do we have like a header or something? I think if we put a flash message in, it just won't show. So which is no use for a system test. But I don't really. Oh, okay, fine. Let's. Let's put something on that page, and we can just test for that at the moment. It's quicker. It's going to be quicker to put something really disposable in than worry about it. So in admin events, I'm in components. Sorry, I meant to be in views. Right, admin events index. Let's put the organization name here. That'll at least tell us. I can't even. I'm assuming it's name and not title, but then I'm assuming if we then go to this other organization, Nonsense. Absolute nonsense. Okay, so we won't set a flash because I don't think we're rendering those out yet. Again, we're not doing any planning or anything sensible on this stream. We're just winging it all the time. So that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. Then I get there and then that's not the one I'm looking for. That's this one, this one, this one, this one. And then I should see expect page have text, and it should be the organization name with the word events at the end. That's a ridiculous thing to do, but like one of the good things about the stream is you don't have to worry about real users because we don't have any. Fourth wall test, what hosting did you finally choose for your application? So I haven't put anything live yet, but it was between Scalingo and Heroku were the two. I haven't had to pick one because this thing's a mess, so we haven't got it up yet. I think at the moment I possibly lean towards Heroku because like all my billing details and everything are already in there, so it's more of an effort for me to move over. Just because I'm already a Heroku user, which I get it. There's a lot of like noise around Heroku at the moment, but that's how you become an incumbent. Everybody puts all their card details in and they can't be bothered to move. I'm curious if you were like Hatchbox.io. Oh, okay. So this was on the list. I am happy to take a quick diversion here because this was relevant to a few streams we did recently. This was on the list. Rails hosting made simple for small businesses. This was one. Oh, this looks different. Is this not what I'm thinking of? Oh, hang on. Wait, maybe it's a new... Is this a new website from them? You might not know the answer to that, but I think I'd looked at Hatchbox and this wasn't what it looked like. And the reason that I didn't run through it on the stream, I think, was that it sort of wasn't the same thing as Heroku and Scalingo. You sort of had to bring your own infrastructure to it. But maybe I might be totally misremembering that. So I'm $10 per server per month. Like, do they give you all of the stuff like Postgres, Redis, stuff like that? Or do you have to do all of that yourself? Because that was sort of where I was like, databases, where's databases? Add Postgres MySQL to Redis to your cluster or easily spin up managed database hosting on AWS. Oh, Jumpstart. Yeah. So we looked at Jumpstart and Jumpstart Pro really early on at the start of this application. It looked great. There was Jumpstart and there was Bullet Train was the other one, and they were great actually. Both of them had open source versions. I think Bullet Train is now fully open source, and Jumpstart has like 2 different levels, I think. Anyone who's listening or watching this chat later on, there are a couple of streams. If you search in our stream, if you're interested in me looking at these or some rando from the internet, aka me looking at these, there are streams with Jumpstart Pro and Bullet Train. They're basically like pre-made starting points for your application. So like, don't worry about all the nuts and bolts. Like, we got you. You're gonna have to do all of these things anyway. We'll just do them, and then you pick up from where we leave off, and you pay them money. So there's the open source version, and then there's like a paid version and support and stuff like that. I'm a big fan of Jumpstart. This is from the author of Jumpstart. Recently, we kicked off a new project in the company using it. Of creators, fourth wall. Oh, okay. Oh, wait, this is your thing. Okay, sorry. Okay, right. This is you're promoting this thing. Okay, well, this is like a live test of stuff. Create magic and more on your terms. Power their shops, memberships, and more. Oh, okay. Yeah, this is kind of. I don't know if you saw my very sort of early streams. It was a dummy app for like you would type your YouTube channel into it, and it would make a little web page for creators and for YouTube creators and things like that. This is great. Fully customizable websites owned by you. Are these this is totally just promo for his name is beautifulbastard.com. that's a website. That's branding. Do you What's the one that I did a project with? It's like Printful or something like that. Like, do you print on demand in the background and stuff? Check out product catalog on the top. Oh, I see. Oh, I'm an idiot. Okay, so it's already on here. What would you like to create? Okay, cool. So there's like a print on demand, like API and stuff. Okay, this is amazing. Okay, well, okay, I'm not gonna do too much promo on here because this is like. You know, this is free sponsorship, which I don't do. But all right, people watching this, check out fourthwall.com. If you are a YouTuber, TikToker, all of the people who make stuff and do things and need people to give them money. It looks like they do donations and messages and all that fun stuff. The only version I have of anything like this is all too professional and fancy for someone who's as lazy as I am. But I use Streamlabs to stream for anyone who's interested in this sort of thing. And they put a support the stream link in my description of my videos that I didn't know existed. They just put it there because through the software. They just put it there automatically. And then I got a £5 donation, and so I got the email, and I had no idea. I'd obviously given them an email address for a PayPal account when I set the account up, which I had no memory of doing. And so shout out to Karen, who gave me £5, which I spent on cake. So shout out. But if you, I do like the idea of t-shirts. But anyway, right, go check out Fourth Wall. They seem very good, and that's a very snazzy website. And also, we will go check out Hatchbox because we're not hosted anywhere. This is not this app is not it's not fit for consumption. But one day we will host it somewhere, so we will check out Hatchbox there. All right, let's jump back to it because we've got to get this done because I might get a call from my sister to give her a lift into town. So this system test might now pass. I didn't check any of my syntax, and there is no doubt that it is full of typos. And if it works, I am going to be pretty happy. So let's see what we get. Bundle exact spec, system creating an organization spec. Okay. If I did that from memory, I'm going to be pretty happy. I just don't see a world where that is right. No. Okay. Well, that was worth a try. Click button, save and continue. Okay, so click button seems right. Save and continue is not disabled. And you do get a screenshot these days, which is amazing. So this is the screenshot. Oh, it's not a button. Because there's no form there, it's a link. Oh no, wrong one. For this one. Okay, so that's not me cooking the Capybara API up. That is that's me forgetting that middle step through. Oh, look at that. I'm getting old. My memory is getting worse by the day. But I can remember click button and click link. Right, that's the happy path. That's our existing behavior. No logic, no nothing. You create the organization, and this will fall apart if you were signed in at any point before this. So this context here is the key for that. So then let's say that we have another context, and we're going to brush over all of the diligence that we would do where there might be another tab open, where the user might create another account, another tab, and the user could get created halfway through. We're just going to, don't worry about doing anything properly. We're just going to wing things on here. So as a logged in user, I don't know why I've gone for logged in here rather than like signed in, and so I think I'm going to do that annoying thing where I probably jump back and forth between the two. So this is going to be a first step. We're going to do the same thing. That's going to be the same. That's going to be the same. Okay, now what should happen here? So I think nothing should happen as my first pitch for behavior. You're already signed in, so we're going to need to do... Oh, don't we have like a shared context or something for this somewhere now? I think we've done... Did I not get around to it? Yes, here we go. Include context as a registered user. Okay, so let me just check what that actually does. So support, and I know that because I did those Git rebases yesterday. So as a registered user, so it creates a user account. Oh, it actually does it as the UI. So visits new session, clicks login. Okay, fine. When we use include context, is that done as a before? Yeah, it's all done as a before. Okay, great. So that's all done as a before. So then when I visit the new organization page, then I should see the organization admin. This should fail. So we should now have a failing test here for, let's do 16. And the error, of course, is that you are on this user details page when it fails. Oh, could not find shared context. Ah, okay. I don't know why I was requiring that manually. And I assume it's to do with what I'm about to say now, which is that I think we went to put it in our shared setup and something went wrong and then I didn't take... Wait, how is that test passing? Wait a minute. How is this test then? I should see. I should have one pass, one fail. Oh, okay. So I've obviously... Okay, my line number must have moved. Okay, fine. So I should... Yeah, I get my error, I get my failure, and the failure I get is that I'm on the wrong page. Like I'm on the user sign up page. However, my first thing I said was, well, we could skip this step. Well, we can't skip this step because we need the membership to be created. Like, so we want to create the organization in the previous step, but we want the user to be created. Sorry, the membership to be created at the same time. Yeah, this is all annoying because like everything that's running through my mind is resilience based, and that's just it's stuff that you sort of have to get into. It's really hard to like skim over resilience stuff. So for example, let's sort of knock up a version of what I'm talking about. So if this, I should see the organization admin, right? So I should get the redirect. And in order to see the admin, by definition, I have to be a member of that organization. So like that's like the system test version. That's the highest level. So what we could do in here is say, we could say, I don't know if you can hear it because I've got my desk fan on because it's warm today. But one of my neighbors is blaring out Queen, like at such a loud volume. You can hear the end of Bohemian Rhapsody really going for it. Assign user. That's not really what I want to like. Assign and redirect. Like for user, because I sort of just want to get across there that it's only if we have a user or not. I think that naming sucks. All right, so we want to ignore this. So we want to put in a guard clause here that's like return unless current user, right? Like we're using devise, so that's the thing we have. So if if there's no user, like if we don't have anyone signed in, go and finish the rest of this controller. Everything will work as is. If we do have an existing user, sorry, we want to do this part. We don't need user because we can use current user. We don't expect any world in which I don't like using current user in controllers very often, because usually you want to try and specify which controller so it makes it easier to have the action performed on their behalf. But this flow is an onboarding flow, so I'm sort of like, that's probably okay potentially at this point. No idea. And then, so we want that part and we want this part, which I think because of like flash messages and stuff, I'd probably put in a method if we were doing this properly. So does that get our test to pass? Yes, it does. Okay, so let's see what that looks like in real life. So in real life, we have a user in both of our tabs here. And I go get started. I've got new org is the name of our organization. Great, click through here. Right, I am immediately skipped that third step. We went to go to it and then we were like, oh no, you're good. You are already a user, so we can just assign you to this organization. There's just loads of problems around this design. This sort of, I always end up doing this for stream code. Like, how good do we want to bother making this? Like, how good do we want to bother making this? Rather than like, oh, it works, we've skipped it. Like, we've solved the problem. There's a test, like whatever. Because, okay, one of the first things you could ask is, why do you need to come to this controller at all if you already know everything you need to know in the previous controller? You already know that you have a user, to the point where in the initial step in the orders controller here, we know whether we have a user here or not. Like this thing, organization controller, not events controller. So here, we're assuming that we don't have one and we're just making one. But in here, we could do the check to see whether there is a current user and make that behavior work here. We could handle this organization membership happen right at the start, because we know that you're creating it. We know you exist. Step one, boom, create the organization membership. We could then check for the organization membership here rather than checking for the presence of a user. Maybe, I don't know if that's a good or bad idea. So that's all about moving this logic further up in that user flow. Fine, those are all options. Another option we have here is, even here, we're doing organization member create as a bang method. Let's say that they click back and resubmit the form. They go back through that controller action. There is an organization membership. We shouldn't fail there. We should just be like, oh, you're already a member of this organization. So my instinct here is to take all of this away from this controller and have like a different model that handles this, whether you want to call, like, depending on what pattern you want to use, whether you want to make it a service object or just another model that does creation and passes something back. I think this probably shouldn't live here because of the risks that it poses. And the question I'm asking myself is how much we want to get into that on the stream, or do we want to sort of make that a specific episode or something like that? I'm just going to find out. There was another option for deployment. Multi-region support for ordinary app sounds so cool. Yes, I've heard of fly.io because it was in Ruby Weekly recently, and I think they wrote a big like migration from Heroku thing, because that's obviously like Heroku's closure of free apps is a big deal in the last few weeks. So yeah, I haven't used fly.io, but these are all services I do sort of need to check out, I think. Oh, right. what do we want to do about this? Do we want to bother sort of getting into this, or have we solved our sort of core problem, which is like, hey, if you're already a user, you can make new organizations. I've got new org, test. You could even add like a little new organization button down there or something like that. Like, we've solved it in the least robust and least good way possible. Like, everything will fail. Like, if I go back and then forward. Oh, why does the organization membership? Oh, wait, hang on. Is the organization membership creating lots of organization memberships? There should be like a unique index on that, right? Let's just look at the last one. And then if I'm, yeah, let's assume they're chronological. Let's do this again. It is creating. Okay, great. Well, that's okay. So this is a good catch. So it's not failing because the same user can be a member of the same organization multiple times, which makes no sense. So we obviously missed an index on our organization memberships table when we were creating that. I vaguely, as you know, I actually have a memory of something like mentioning something like that. So let's go and check. All right. So this is we're not doing diligence, but at least we're finding some stuff. Okay. So what's it called? Organization memberships. Right, we have an index on organization ID. We have an index on the user ID because we would need to ask for those on a regular basis as well. That's great, but what we would want is an index on those. And the good thing about being this early on is you don't need to worry about adding unique indexes on tables in which there's already loads of data because you haven't pushed anything live. So you can just add everything everywhere. It doesn't matter. This is my favorite part of the stream, where there's no like existing user data, where you have to spend hours thinking about how you're going to gently move everything over and nudge it around as you need to change the table structures and add columns and whatnots. Right, we want to do a migration then, and we want to do add index to organization memberships. And although I was pretty excited at how much I remembered of the Capybara API earlier, there's zero chance of me remembering any of this. I think it's like add index and the table, right? I don't know. Rails migration add index. That's from 2013. That's always a red flag on these. I don't know what difference it makes. Although I did notice in Stack Overflow, they've started not using, there's like, they've got this new trending aspect. So if previously there were like answers that they had the right answer from like 2015, but it was always at the top because it could never be moved because there were so many votes for it. And now they've started like weighting recency. So what was right in 2014, 2015 might no longer be the right answer. So you can kind of vote more up-to-date answers, even though the other one was correct. Add index phone. Right, that's add index. Add indexed phones users. Where is it specifying the phone? Where is it specifying the table name in there? Add column phone string. How does it know the table name? I think you just put one. Hang on. Let's just look at the fucking docs. That's what I wanted. That's all I wanted in the world. Table name, column name, creating unique index. Okay, great. So That's all I was looking for. I just wanted to check that you passed them as an array. That's all I cared about. So organization, memberships, and then unique. True. So this should fail. We should be able to get this to fail. So the columns we want are user ID and organization ID. Okay. And some like people try and explain this to me all the time because I'm not very good at it, but like because this is like a composite index of 2 fields, the fields to the left are automatically indexed anyway. So I wonder if you could drop the, do you end up with 2 indexes there? Or is that only on certain, is that like only true on Postgres or only true on MySQL or something? I'm just gonna add this and not worry about that right now. So this should fail. Bin Rails DB. Great, and I think it will fail because in the database there are existing duplicate fields which we have just created. So that's great. So we can drop the whole is it drop that I want? Oh, I've got the server open, haven't I? I won't do the drop with the server open. So it's done one. Let's see if it'll do. Okay. Do I have to do create and schema load before anything? I can't remember what drop does exactly. Like that. Okay, great. So there's the migration. So now we can go back over. Then we can run our seed data, which will give us a user. And then we can jump back over and kickstart our server. And our user is called test123. Great, and so this user can then go to get started. They can do new org, no details here. Go to here, then go back one, resubmit this. Now we get our error because we have got our validate unique constraint. Great, so let's just commit that. On migration and our schema. So we want to add, oh, sorry, not add unique index to oops. Okay. Why am I adding it? Looks like this was missed. When this table was created, adding now to prevent yeah, like I'm just trying to tell myself in the future that like, hey, there was no reason to add this other than it got missed originally. It's not like not like we're adding something crazy or anything. Okay, great. So I mean, presumably if we just take the bang off of those methods, like, but again, yeah, I just got a list of non-ideal solutions and no time that I want to really spend looking into them. So I haven't had a message from my sister, so God knows what's going on. Needing a lift. So here you could just take the bang from that, and I think that this would then just still take you to the right place. It doesn't, because it's a DB error, not a Rails error. You'd have to rescue the record not unique explicitly. when in reality you could not be in this controller at all. Because you could even... Does organization membership have find or create? Yeah, you could have... You could... is it find or create by? Find... I can't remember which way around it is. Find, create. And you could do create or find by. Wait, hang on. I thought I clicked create or find by. I think this I don't remember if this is still the why did that not come up in the docs search? Is it there? Like create or find by? Yeah. No versions, the first available version 6.131. Okay, so let's try that then. So now do I skip the error? Yes, okay, great. So because we have got that index on the table, we can't create new organization membership for the user for the organization. That could actually work there as well. Create or find by. In which case that could be a method to which you pass the user, just so you had the consistent API. But again, whether you want to be here at all is probably the question you should be asking. I mean, this sort of does the job for the stream level of kind of code that we're doing. We've touched on the logic that we wanted to add, which is like skip that step if you're already a user. So now I have multiple organizations and I can just make more. Click, and then in here this now works, and I now have 33333 in here. So that's sort of fixed it in the kind of least resilient way possible. Let's check our test pass. Go all the way back to there, and then probably just commit this as okay for now. Because we sort of bumped into the same thing on creating orders, right? Like we didn't do, I don't think we have like an order creator class or anything. Or maybe we did. I don't think we do though. Yeah, I think we sort of just did the same level. So maybe what we'll do is we'll just do some sort of lacking in diligence stuff for now. Like it's not ideal, you know, you wouldn't do it this way. And then actually have a session where we fix a pattern in the application as to how we might do that. Like, is it where we have like those service style objects where it's like create user and create order and they pass back a specific type. We have classes maybe that follow a specific pattern. There's like a bunch of ways to do this. I just don't want to, you have to make a bunch of decisions, and I think we need to start a stream and do one where I've got a longer amount of time. So there, and there. Okay, so let's just commit this for now. And what's the actual commit that we're trying to commit? So we want to skip users step in. Oh, we're not skipping it. We're like update users step in org setup if user is signed in. So we want to say in our initial not hugely robust implementation of the organization onboarding. There's no setup. It wouldn't work if the user was already signed in. Why? Because as it expected to create the user and the org membership. In a previous commit, we added a unique index to the organization memberships table that allows us to create a find by to prevent issues. Oh, I can hear his queen and coming from my window. I can hear We Will Rock You is now playing. In the previous script, we added a unique index to the organization memberships table that allows us to create user here to prevent issues when we submit the actions. I missed a section out here. It's like this commit before action will handle the create membership and redirect. Is a user. So we said what was broken before we got here, what this actually does, some context as to how we're able to do some of it, and then what I want to put is this work does not be more specific. I don't think this is the most robust version of this fix. Is that what I want to say? I don't think this is the most robust version of this update. I'm just going to mention the stream. So on the stream, we discussed associating, or I guess creating the org membership at the same point as creating the org as a signed in user, and whether a separate class, service, etc. could be somewhere that code lives, but I don't have much time on the stream this morning. So this is what it is. People love rampant honesty and commit messages, don't they? All right, great. So that is commit and done. So we've solved our problem that we wanted to do. Okay. Oh wait, how did I just get signed out? Or was I never signed in that? Yeah, that must have been the previous session. Okay, great. So in here now I should be able to. Oh, just nonsense. Great. So happy paths all work. Create an event. All right, let's I haven't had a message from my sister, so let's get back to our UI stuff, I think. This all looks fairly insane, but at least this is all view component structured. So like, yeah, it is sort of what it is. This is very broken. Do we want to work top down and sort of pick up where we left off and sort of make this thing work and look nice? We would end up fixing that bug. I think there was a bug when you were in here with the full length images that this didn't work, so it didn't come above it. Should we do a few bits and bobs like that before my system? I think we're going to do that in like 15 minutes. Okay, right, let's switch to some UI stuff then. Fixed the Rails thing, sort of. Didn't really fix it, but I mean, we fixed it. It's not fundamentally broken anymore. Let's go and look at our single. Now that we've removed it at the start of the stream, we now only have one navbar component to rule them all. And we have some SAS for it. And that is currently bumping into an issue with one of our layouts, which is this cover full page BG. So let's solve this issue first. So this little toggle menu that appears here when I click on Z, that should show a little menu down there, I think. And like that. And I think it's just a Z index issue as to why that's not showing. So let's go check that assumption first. Yeah, so this is the UL we think should be appearing. And it is position absolute, but it actually doesn't have a Z index set at all. Oh, it literally just needs any kind of Z index set. All right. So one of the things I'm kind of interested in here is what I've done in the past is have like a kind of centralized source of Z indexes so that you don't end up having to everyone is just trying to put more nines on the end of the number. So in yeah, I guess. So back in like some of the CSS frameworks would give you like a list of variables right up front that were all assigned, and we do have that here. I think there was like one for primer. Is this just JavaScript in here? Okay, then we moved it over to... Did we end up with any sort of primer specific? Oh, at primer CSS index, I see. So that's where that comes in. And so in there we get... So reset global aspects. So do we have one called like variables? And in here you just have like a bunch of stuff. Because in our components, So we know we have a bunch of global CSS variables that come in from Primer, but we have to look at the browser to see them because I think that's how that is supposed to work. I don't know. So where's some SAS stuff in here? Nothing. All right, so in here we're just doing. So if I put this in here, so if I do nav bar site, I could preface them all so they were grouped alphabetically. So Z index, site nav bar. Let's put like 100 arbitrarily. So if I put that there and then close this, I need the CSS file for the site nav bar. So that's in site nav bar here. So position relative, content container, nav bar logo, content item. Where is the, oh wait, actually is it in here where that actually drops down? Nav bar account nav bar. Right, this is the bit that actually gets dropped down. So this is position absolute. Does this variable exist in that world in that case? Let's see if the answer is yes or no. Yes, okay, great. Right, it also affects... That's interesting, it affects the height of the content, so... Oh, is it just because it's running off the side of the page like that? Okay, so let's try and fix the layout issues of this. This has got... I think this was just a quickie, wasn't it? So left 0, width 100%, but that's obviously not 100% because it's 100% of its parent. We could just like set its width. Oh, but they all go that way, right? So do we want right 0? Right, okay, yeah, cool. And shouldn't that then switch to the mobile layout? I thought there was a version where that drops. Okay, great. So let's say width 100. Let's just say arbitrarily this is now... well, actually, we can put in here. I don't know if these are like are these free? Like these CSS variables, are they like performance free? So here we can put, what's it called? Org pick a container width. Cool, and then in here we can say that's that one. And this was going to be right, wasn't it? Right, now why isn't that 100%? Because I think it, oh, have I just overridden it in the wrong place? Okay, right, so that should actually be... Okay, I'm an idiot. So that should be... Oh, but it would only ever be... Okay, so maybe it's like... Or pick a container. Oh, so I'd set the max width. Okay. Yeah, okay, so there's 100%. And then somewhere it clicks to that. Okay, so why did max width stop working and it expects to be 100% of its container here? Did I change? Because it's not inside that. What's it inside? Ah, this navbar item, which it probably wasn't before. So what's this? Position relative. Right, that's what... Okay. Okay, I don't think that's a huge issue. I don't think that's a huge issue. All right, I think we've fixed that as well. So hopefully that made some sense as to what was going on there. So now if I toggle this, I get 100% wide menu. And then as I bring it up past 600 pixels, I then get a little menu that toggles like that. And it's just the CSS of that that we're doing. And if you had a really long organization name, it would look rough. We're not going to worry too much about that right now. So let's commit those changes as well. Well, yeah, we're at 1 minute 25. I think we're going to have to wrap up for this morning. But we did what we said we were going to do. So update. Oh, sorry, like fix layout issue with organization picker. This was broken due to the previous merging of two nav bars. So this was being used in a different context. It's fine. I don't have a lot to say about like, I guess I'm introducing the concept of a single location for CSS bars here, but not sure how tenable that is as an approach. All right, that'll do. All right, cool. That's going to wrap us up, I think, for today, because I'm going to go and see what's going on with my sister, because she was said she was going to message me. All right, okay, so let's cover what we did. Not bad for an hour and 25 minutes. We removed an old component that we didn't need anymore following our merge. We took a look at the steps of our step-by-step, and we resolved an issue where if you were currently signed in as a user and you try to create a new organization, it wouldn't allow you to, whereas now it will. I can go through here and I can say dummy org, and then I can create that. I can click through, and then I'm taking here and I'm taking to dummy org, and it also appears in my list, so I can jump between all of my organizations. Right, next week what I would want to do is let's start adding some polish, because like it's the fun bit of the UI stuff, right? Like here we've got a gray blob where there should be a logo, and these little blobs here are just hard-coded random colors, but these should be like your avatar, right? Like have a cool little picture with maybe a drop shadow or something, you know, just some polish. Because everything's sort of like, it's not the most robust thing in the world, but it does sort of work. It just looks all janky. So you can make an event here. You can still sign up for the event. So yeah, I think next week we'll just do polish, because I want to polish this stuff up, because I'm sick of saying it looks super rough. But that's next week. For now, thank you so much for those in the chat. Oh, let's shout out. So fourthwall.com was in the chat today. So shout out to, sorry, I didn't get your real name. We will come back at some point and look at Hatchbox. We have done some recent streams around hosting and things like that. They're back in the YouTube archive if you want to take a look. So Hatchbox, and what was the other one that got mentioned? Fly.io, which I think is more of a deployment thing, not really sure. But we will do another episode, because those two people have asked about those as well. So we will do another stream about hosting stuff, but probably not next week, because I want to do the UI polishing. Have amazing weeks. We'll see you all next week, 10:30 a.m. for another Sunday Club. Thanks a lot.